Welcome to Orlando Magic Now. I'm Charles King, here with our beat writer for the Orlando Magic, Josh Robbins. And Josh has been soliciting questions from his Twitter followers for the last couple of days, asking if any of them had questions for him. And so he's here today to answer those Twitter questions. So there's a variety of topics. We're going to spend the next 15 or 20 minutes or so live here on OrlandoSentinel.com answering those questions. How you doing, Josh?
I have a question.
Okay, what's your question?
Why are you so much taller than I am here? Why didn't we exercise a little bit more?
I think that's a genetics thing.
Caution here. Hold on, I'm having problems.
Josh is always concerned about his seat. And speaking of the seat, you know, sitting in that seat earlier this morning was Nick Vucevic, the Orlando Magic center, who is actually here this morning. Yeah, I would hope so. Here this morning for a promotion. And Josh was not here, and it was pretty funny. Vucevic actually stopped by Josh's desk and took some photos and tweeted one out. I think we have some of those. We're going to start. There it is. Coming for your spot, Josh, he says. And a couple other people took some pictures here at the Sentinel. I think we got some more that we're going to go through. One question that we got.
By the way, I have some breaking news. I'm sorry to interrupt this.
Go ahead.
Learned just exclusively now by the Orlando Sentinel, by me, Josh Robbins, Twitter, Joshua B. Robbins. Exclusive news, Nick Vucevic has to go get tetanus shots because he sat at my dirty, disgusting, ill-kept desk.
That was one thing I was
Don't
a little
worry,
surprised.
I was joking.
We know
He's okay.
You're pretty buttoned up, Josh, but we saw your desk today when Vucevic took a seat there, and it was pretty gross. I gotta say, I agree with you on that.
Oh, thanks.
There was a used spoon and some napkins laying around, which you may or may not see in that picture. So we did get a tweet from a fan who said they were curious if you were afraid that Vucevic is going to take your job. I don't really know how you answer that.
Yes. The answer is yes.
I know this. If he wanted it, he'd have a pretty good chance at competing with you for it, don't you think?
Agreed. And he's not just bilingual or trilingual. I think he speaks 4 different languages. English.
Inside knowledge of the game.
Well, may I finish my thought, please? He speaks English better than I do, and better than you do, by the way.
That's true.
French, Serbian, and
a little bit of something else, maybe? Some Spanish?
No, I don't. Well, okay, so I'm confused on what the 4th language is, but I'm pretty sure he speaks 4 languages, which is 2.5 languages more than I speak.
Yeah.
So, yes, I am quite concerned. And all seriousness, I think that whenever he retires from the league, he could become a superb TV analyst, especially for French language broadcasts. And by the time that occurs, there will be a significant market for French language broadcasts, even greater than there is today.
Vucevic, great guy. He was in here, a lot of fun this morning. Yeah. But let's move on. Let's get to some actual questions for Josh about the team. Get your thoughts. I'm very curious what you have to say about some of these. All right, so this is at Faith_2301. Josh, what are the chances for Fournier to play against the Suns tomorrow? He's had an injury and missed the last couple of games.
Right, so he has a strained right wrist, which is his shooting wrist. He's missed the last 3 games. Magic are hopeful he plays against the Phoenix Suns Friday night. I wouldn't, I'd say maybe 50-50, but I'm just spitballing there. I think that's an injury that you don't want to mess around with. You know, if you have a strained wrist and it's your shooting wrist, a little bit of extra rest is preferable to not rest. And I suspect, certainly they're in contact with Evan all the time. It probably is to the team's best interest. I think if he were to take tomorrow off and get a few extra days rest, heading into what will be a very long and difficult road trip out west. Monday they play the Golden State Warriors. They're going to need him for that. So perhaps he'd be better off not playing tomorrow, but he could play tomorrow. Okay. I don't have the answer. I don't think the Magic have the answer yet either to be.
Fair to say, as soon as you have the answer, it'll be on OrlandoSentinel.com and on Twitter.
See, this is why you are one of the greatest MCs. Not just in Central Florida, not just in Central Florida, not just in Florida, but east of the Mississippi. This is why, by the way, have you watched the evening Sports Center after like 1 a.m. when the one they do from Los Angeles?
Occasionally, I've seen it.
They could use you on that broadcast.
Is it rough?
I think it's awful.
Oh.
I think it's awful.
I'm not
Sorry.
sure I would do anything to bring it up.
I'm talking about the hosts.
Thanks.
I'm talking, and I'm not talking about Stan Verrett, who's very good. I'm talking about Neil Everett.
Okay.
So
shots fired.
Apparently so. Yes. Yes. You'd
Well,
be great for it.
Well, thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
So Fournier being out has led to increased minutes for Mario Hezonja. Let's take a look at the next question here. Do you think Hezonja will still see an increased amount of minutes once Fournier returns? That's from @BORL Magic.
I don't. Thank you for the question, and thank you for all the questions. All seriousness, we're deeply appreciative for them, and we enjoy them. So thank you. I don't see him having an increased number of minutes when Evan Fournier returns. I think the same principle that is applied to Mario Hezonja since the start of the season will continue to apply, which is to say, if he continues to play defense and he meets his obligations on that end of the floor, which is to say he's always locked in and focused, then he will receive minutes because he's much too talented a player otherwise not to receive minutes. But again, the Magic want to reinforce good habits. They want Mario Hezonja to meet his potential, and the best way to meet your potential is to do what you're asked. And one of the things they want from him, from all their players, is to be a two-way player. And to be a two-way player, you've got to meet your obligations on defense. So that's the question. But I don't see him receiving increased minutes when Evan comes back. I think
going to eat into his minutes,
yes.
Of course.
Yes, so you just said succinctly in 2 seconds what took me 2 minutes to say. So
well, and the increased playing time, you could see the confidence growing in Hezonja. Offensively, for sure, had his highest point total of his career in last night's game against the Bulls, and even Skiles conceded that he felt like Hezonja had one of his better defensive games of the year.
You know, it's interesting. Scott Skiles has a reputation for never playing rookies, and I think we've said on one of the first shows of the year, it's just not true. I mean, Brendan Jennings, during his rookie year, played all 82. I think he may have started 82 games as a rookie. He certainly played all 82. Ben Gordon, sixth man of the year as a rookie. Luke Baumute started 50 games as a rookie. So, Hezonja has received playing time, but he's got to make the most of that time, and defense is half the game, sure, after all. And the Magic need to improve on defense, and I do think the Magic would do Hezonja a disservice if they just threw him out there and just let him play. Yeah. That would not help him in the long run.
We've got a bunch of questions, so we're going to try to fly through as many as possible. Moving on, our next question here. Do you see Orlando, we're kind of staying with the Fournier-Hezonja theme here, do you see Orlando paying to keep Evan this summer or trying to get bigger fish to bite? And that's from @JNCO_Suave. So,
Suave.
Did I read that wrong?
Well, I don't have my glasses on. I don't know whether you did or you didn't.
That's what it looks like from here. Okay, yeah, I'm getting a nod of approval.
Oh, yes. Oh,
I think
Grant,
it's
good for you, being so suave.
Do you see Orlando paying to keep Evan this summer or trying to get bigger fish to bite? I mean, I don't know if it's an either-or situation.
Exactly right. It's not. The Magic will own his bird rights. They could go above the cap if they need to, and as you and I have gone through ad nauseum, the Magic could do a bunch of procedural moves that ultimately could get them $45 million or more in cap space, potentially. So I do envision the Magic trying to make a splash in free agency to get the right player. I do see that, and if they were to do that, it wouldn't preclude them from re-signing Evan Fournier. So I think...
but it's going to be a crazy market this summer. I mean, anything could happen with so much money out there.
Well, here's the point. He is a restricted free agent, so the Magic have the right to match any offer that he may receive. Mm-hmm. And the question is, which team will come in and offer him money? There are going to be so many teams this summer with money to spend with the increased cap space that I envision some team going with an outlandish offer for Evan Fournier, and he's a good player too. Yeah. He's tough, he's a good shooter, he's young, he can drive to the hoop. He does a lot of things very well. I think he's an underrated player. And one of the teams I envision making a play for Fournier are the Philadelphia 76ers. At some point, they need to start building, and I believe he's on their radar. So the question is, will some team come in with a crazy offer for him?
The other question is how high the Magic would go to match.
I think they like him a lot, and I don't think that they would let him go willingly. I think that the Magic will have had to have made a whole bunch of other moves that already put them right at the cap. And if maybe you could envision a circumstance where they'd go above the luxury tax to sign him, well, maybe then that's an issue. But I think that's going far, far down a rabbit hole that I don't envision happening. I think that they're going to make every effort to keep him. It's going to be a very similar scenario to the one that they experienced with Tobias Harris this past fall.
Right. So we've got a number of free agency questions, so let's burn through a couple of more and kind of get your thoughts on these. This is from the Mavic 46, I think that's how you pronounce that. Should LMH23, that's Hazonia, play for the national team this summer or stay in the U.S. and work to improve his game, unlike last year?
Well, I think that, so Mario Hazonia played for Croatia in the European basketball tournament in late August, September, and it prevented him from coming over here during those months and started to kind of getting ready for training camp. I think it did put him behind the 8 ball. So there are really two questions here. I think you can look at it from two perspectives. Is it to the Magic's benefit to have him play for Croatia? No. Then again, I don't think it's to the Magic's benefit to have any of their players play for their national teams because of the risk of injury for the most part.
Well, I mean, you look at Nicholson, played for Canada. That, I don't know, it almost seemed to spark his game a little bit. So.
Well, you make a fair point there, but I think
the risk of injury, though, is
risk of injury, and I think you'd always want to have your players close.
Yeah.
Now, again, I think so. Here's the answer to the question. From the Magic's perspective, I don't think it's to their benefit to have him play for Croatia. But I also don't think it's real, and I think the Magic probably would acknowledge it's probably not realistic to think that someone would avoid playing for his own country, a country that desperately needs him to be on the team. Now they're looking to qualify for the Rio Olympics. They still need to win or at least place in a qualifying tournament. I think they're going to be playing in Italy. I think they're going to be playing in Turin in and around early July, which happens to be the same time of the Magic Summer League. I'm not sure he needs to play Summer League ball, but at any rate...
What do you think he's going to do?
I don't know this for sure, but I suspect that he's going to play for Croatia. I think his patriotism probably... I just don't think it's realistic to expect a 20-year-old to not play for his country. I think he's too patriotic not to.
Okay.
That's my guess.
All right, moving on. Next question. Why didn't Skiles ever start Peyton, Oladipo, Tobias Harris, Gordon, and Vucevic together?
That's interesting. I should have done some research to see just how many minutes that grouping had played, but for a large portion of the season, Channing Frye was the starting power forward, which would have probably prevented Aaron Gordon from starting. I think that then there was a time, of course, when Victor Oladipo wasn't starting himself. I think that's basically the reasoning there. Channing Frye did have an effect in terms of spacing the floor, and he wasn't nearly as bad on defense as people think he was. I think his defensive rating was 99.3, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And
I have an eidetic memory or photographic memory, as you know.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And no, I don't. I apologize. I'm joking. So it's not like Channing Frye's season was a disaster. Now, the previous season was a disaster for him. So I think that was the thinking there. And
that particular lineup, granted, it's young, athletic, a lot of energy perhaps, but you're talking about 4 players surrounding Vucevic that were shooting in the low 30s or below from the perimeter at three-point shooting. I think that's probably the biggest concern with that lineup, right?
Well, please refresh my memory. Was Fournier in that lineup?
No.
Well, Evan Fournier is their second best shoot. Well, probably if you were to he's probably their best, second best shooter outside of Frye from three-point range.
Fournier and Frye were in the lineup to keep Gordon out, I think. Not necessarily for that reason, but when they're in the lineup, when Fournier's in the starting lineup, Harris is playing the 4.
Correct.
And when Frye's in, obviously he's playing the 4. So.
Well, Evan Fournier arguably has been the team's second best defender all season. So I think it's not a question of not wanting to play this lineup. I think from Skyle's perspective, it was to play a lineup and players who were thought to be the best option.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Let's get through another question here.
This is why you're the best MC, one of the best MCs, I should say.
Try to keep it moving.
Well, you're superb. You do great work.
How about this one from at Jordan Morris 282? Is the Jennings-Watson combo as second-team backcourt just to get all 3 point guards playing time? Doesn't seem to be working with the little Kermit sipping coffee emoji there.
I think this is one of the side effects of Evan Fournier being out.
Okay.
But certainly I think that's a big part of it. And I think there's a value to getting C.J. Watson and Brandon Jennings playing time. And there have been times this season when C.J. Watson has been very effective off the ball. Now, I don't think that the grouping has been that effective lately, although I think certainly the last night's game against the Bulls, almost everything was effective. I'm not sure the Magic know who or what they have yet in Brandon Jennings, in the sense that he is still knocking off a significant amount of rust from his Achilles injury that he suffered January of 2015, still getting used to a whole bunch of new teammates, which it'd be one thing if he were a power forward like Ersan Ilyasova, tough under any circumstances to adjust, but it's even more tough when you're a point guard and you really haven't had many opportunities to
Ilyasova can impact
practice.
games by crashing boards, taking charges, and so on. So it's easier for him to inject himself, yeah.
That's correct. And when you're the point guard, you have to essentially be the quarterback of the offense, and you better know your receivers well. You know, that's why Peyton Manning drags all those Demaryius Thomas to Ole Miss or Duke. I guess it's Duke these days in the preseason, or not even the preseason, during the offseason to get some reps in. Well, Brandon Jennings has had no reps with these guys, except for Ilyasova.
Right.
So this is a long-winded answer to say I'm not sure the Magic know exactly what Brandon Jennings can do, because he hasn't necessarily been at his best yet, for good reason. 2 good reasons that I've already mentioned. I do envision them continuing to play both players, but I don't think that the grouping will occur as much when Evan Fournier comes back.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Jumping on to our next question here.
I need the
Thanks for
positive
that.
reinforcement, apparently.
That was good. I appreciate that answer, because we have seen those two playing in the backcourt together.
It's a quick follow-up to that.
Okay. Yeah, we have a follow-up. We have, do you think assuming the Magic, sign Jennings this summer? I don't think Alex means like him and his friends are going to sign Jennings this summer. Or is he just a rental for the remainder of the season? Because Jennings is going to be an unrestricted free agent.
Correct, and I don't know the answer to that. Certainly no one as a matter of fact, when the trade occurred, I think that it was said during the press conference that he might be a player who they keep in mind for the long term, if I recall correctly.
You don't think they would get up there and say, we really only want him for a couple of weeks, though?
That's correct, but yeah, you make a good point. You're very, very savvy, very, very savvy. If I were to guess, I don't suspect that he'll be back with the Magic next year. And why do I say that? Well, I say that because Elfrid Payton is going to be in his 3rd year of his rookie scale contract for sure. C.J. Watson will be in the 2nd year of a 3-year deal, where the first 2 years are fully guaranteed. Would Brandon Jennings want to be a part of that? I don't know. Would the Magic have enough? Would they want to spend their money elsewhere? Brandon Jennings would have a cap hold of approximately, I think, $12 million, if I remember correctly, which certainly would eat into their available cap space. Now, they could renounce their rights to him and then re-sign him, but if you were to ask me to guess, which our distinguished reader, I think Alex is his name.
I believe so.
Yeah, is asked. I suspect he won't be back, but I can't say that for any certainty. That's just my guess.
Okay. Do we have some more questions? I think we do.
We do. We have a few more, so if you want to rapid fire them, so.
Okay, we're gonna breeze through these.
Yeah, we got a few here. Sorry.
We've been here too long.
We have? I've been having fun. I can see why you wouldn't want to hang out with me, but gee.
Well, we got a lot of questions, so we want to make sure we address them all. Okay, here's one from @Shug Smith. Will Drew be back next year? Assuming it means Andrew Nicholson. Am I thinking of someone else? Andrew Nicholson?
That's where I take that to mean, and allow me to put on my glasses to look erudite here.
Like Fournier will be a restricted free agent. this summer.
Correct, assuming that, and I think the Magic will probably give a qualifying offer, and that Andrew probably would not accept that qualifying offer. Again, these are guesses, but that's how I suspect this will go. So I did a little research, and to see how much Andrew Nicholson has played since January 1st. He's appeared in 16 of the 28 Magic games, a total of 149 minutes. So there's no question, and allow me to take my glasses off. There's no question that his playing time has diminished. He's not one of the top 2 power forwards on the team right now. Even though he had a strong start this season.
He had a nice run in December.
Yes, he had a nice run in November too. He was
okay.
very effective. So, no, I don't anticipate him being back. I suspect, and again, he hasn't said this to me, but I suspect that he would want to go to a place where he can play. Now, can he find that place where he's a top 2 player in a power forward rotation? I don't know. He certainly did show some glimmers of high-quality low post moves, which I think saves his career. I mean, I said this for many years, previous 2 years, that he was getting so far away from the basket so often that he wasn't doing one of the things that makes him special, which is an advanced low post game. And he also has shown this year an improved three-point stroke. I think he'll have some interest on the free agent market. I suspect that he'll want to see if he can find a place where he can get some playing time.
And as we said before, lots of teams with lots of money this summer. So you never know some of the crazy numbers that I've been hearing for players in different areas. People speculating what players might get. You got to think that it's the perfect time for Nicholson to be in this situation.
I think it's a perfect time for many a free agent to be in any situation. I mean, thank goodness for that national TV deal from their perspective.
Yeah. All right, got a couple more. This one says, who do you see as and now we're getting to the free agent questions. I forgot to save them for the end. Who do you see as the Magic's top free agent targets this offseason? Let's also see the next one there. I think they're pretty similar. The next one says, any thoughts on who is a more likely free agent target, Barnes or Parsons? Both play really a small forward position. Parsons can opt out and be an unrestricted free agent. If I remember correctly, Barnes would be a restricted free agent like Fournier would be this summer. Both players, I think, are interesting to Magic fans.
Yeah, so thank you for the question. This is the most this is one of the most interesting questions anyone is going to have to answer. Most importantly, the Orlando Magic themselves between now and July 2nd, right? So this is the question everyone, including me, everyone wants to know. What are they going to do? What's their plan? And they're not saying what their plan is, but I suspect that the very first person they will really make a run at will be Al Horford, the 6'11" big man for the Atlanta Hawks. And I think that he would make sense in a lot of ways. First, he's a good team player. He fits seamlessly into a solid team concept in Atlanta, and he's very good. He's, a 4-time All-Star who can be relied on for offense. He's not necessarily a great rebounder, but he could rebound, I think, well enough for what the Magic need. And now the drawback with Al Horford is that I think he would be in his age 30 season in year 1 of a contract. So do you want to commit what would likely be close to max money to a player who would be
4 years?
Yeah, be 4 years. Yes, good arithmetic. Who would be 33 at the end of the deal? That's the main drawback I would see with regard to Al Horford. Now there are other players who will be free agents. If you're the Magic, of course you place a call to Kevin Durant. 30 teams in the league, including I'm including the Oklahoma City Thunder. 29 other teams should be placing a call to Kevin Durant. I mean, what's the harm?
Yeah.
Right? But I don't think that's real. That's certainly not realistic. But I'm trying to answer the spirit of the question. I think the main player the Magic would make the biggest run at would be Al Horford. That's my opinion. So there was.
Parsons is interesting because he played at Lake Howell High School in Winter Park. He's from this area. Played college ball at UF. So I think that gets fans thinking Parsons might want to return home.
Well, a friend of mine, Tim McMahon, who covers the Dallas Mavericks for ESPN, did write a report this past week when the Magic played in Dallas that people close to Parsons, and he was quoting well, who knows who he was referencing, but he wasn't referencing the Magic directly, that apparently people close to Chandler Parsons think the Magic are going to make a run at Chandler Parsons, which seems to me to be speculation. I'll believe it when I see it, not because I don't think Chandler Parsons isn't a good player. I think he is a good player, and as the Magic saw, he can knock down an open shot, and he's a very creative offensive player. Do I see the Magic making a serious run at him?
It's probably going to demand max money in this market.
Yeah, I don't quite see that. I don't see that happening, but I could have 1, 2, 3, or 4 eggs on my face come July 1st. But again, I've stated my opinion as to what I think the Magic will do. I think they'll try to go after Al Horford first. And now, as we discussed, potentially could the Magic try and go after 2 big-name free agents? Yes, it's possible. But this is it's a top-heavy free agent market without a lot of depth, which is, of all the years to have $45 million in cap space.
Probably next year would be the year.
Yes, it would. Now, again, many teams this year are going to have a lot of money to spend. A lot of teams the year after that are going to have a lot of money to spend. So it's not, the Magic aren't the only team with money. And this year, again, I think it bears repeating, this is not a strong and deep free agent class.
Magic have some selling points. I mean, you live in Florida, climate's nice, no state tax. What else am I missing? Good young roster with the potential to grow. I mean, I wouldn't say that the Magic have the same level of sales pitch as some of the top tier teams, but I think the Magic are enticing enough to get some meetings and have a chance at some of the at least one upper tier player this summer.
Well, that will be interesting to see. Last year, July 1st, a few minutes after the opening of free agency, they got a meeting with Paul Millsap. And Paul Millsap at the time was playing for the team with the top record in the Eastern Conference, and he took the meeting. Now, some of the skeptics out there say, well, he took the meeting to to drive his price up to get a max deal from the Hawks. Well, the reality is there were a lot of teams out there who wanted that meeting with Paul Millsap and didn't get that meeting with Paul Millsap. And
maybe he said some good things, and Al Horford overheard it, and now he's interested as well.
Okay, goofball.
Just throwing out potential theories. I don't know.
There are too many potential theories that are thrown out too often in the name of. I think people could see that
lobbing up for you to shoot it down.
Well, if only I could do as well with the ping pong balls you play. I got myself embarrassed by Charles King's several journalism. Let's try to avoid that. But days ago. But look, let's bring this back down to some seriousness.
Okay.
Many years ago, the Magic were a prime free agency destination. I mean, it's been proven that they have had success in the past. Tracy McGrady and Grant Hill, exhibits 1 and 1A. So could it happen again? It could. I find it very interesting that the Houston Rockets, another state without a state income tax, so I've heard, think that they can get almost any free agent at any time.
Yeah.
I mean, bravo to them that they have that level of confidence, and they were able to get Dwight. Interesting to me, by the way.
Do we have any more questions?
Yeah, one last topic here, kind of these last.
One more.
By the way, as MC, shouldn't you be crediting Sean Pitts, who's
Maybe
running
later.
our board?
Maybe later.
That's okay.
Well, magnanimity
You're gonna
apparently
give him a
isn't one of
shout
your
out at
many
the
great
end.
qualities
Okay.
here.
All right, last one. I like this. Who is Orlando's most valuable player in terms of trade value? I think there's some curiosity about whether or not the Magic will continue to make some moves, not just look for potential free agents to sign, maybe try to make another trade or two this summer. Whether that be the case or not, who do you think, which player on the Magic has the most trade value?
You know, you do raise an interesting point, as you always do. I mean, I'm not blowing smoke toward you. I mean, it's true. I mean, you're here, so this is on me. About free agency. Well, you know, if you have a bunch of cap space, it also makes it a lot easier for you to do trades. So it's very good at what you do.
All you do is blow smoke.
You know, we keep talking, and look, I'm the prime guy doing trade for a so-called distressed property. It's a terrible phrase to use, but a player who maybe isn't happy with his own team, could they do that? Well, yes. Anything could potentially happen. Let me give you an example. So the Memphis Grizzlies, I think it was 2009, and by the way, where did our intern go? We had an intern standing back there, flailing his arms, by the way, as we were doing this. I don't know what he was doing.
I think he had to go.
Oh, okay. So, well, it would sure be great if we had someone.
That's an indication that we're gone a long time, maybe.
Okay. Anyway, well, I was hoping he can look this up, but I believe in 2009, the Memphis Grizzlies acquired Zach Randolph for Quentin Richardson. Zach Randolph at the time was considered a distressed property. Look how well that turned out for the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, he's one of 3 key pieces on a team that is challenged for the Western Conference title. Why do I bring that up? I bring that up because as a reminder that trades could be the route the Magic go. Who knows what they go? I'm not even sure. They will have to survey the market, of course, to see if a trade can help them. And I'm sure they will survey the market because they would be negligent if they didn't. Yeah. And they do. And that's an example of certainly a trade that worked out great for the Memphis Grizzlies. Type of trade that comes along once every 5-6 years. But the Magic, I'm sure, will look to see if there's an opportunity there. What was the original question?
That was
who has the most
trade value on the current roster?
Good question. I think you'd find a bunch of different answers. My guess, speaking of, I guess we're bringing this around full circle, Nick Vucevic. Mm-hmm. I say that because he can do something that very few centers can do. He can shoot from a distance. He can rebound. And he's got a very team advantageous contract to the team. I think it's worth approximately $12 million a year. So, and he's averaging, and again, allow me to put on my glasses and look sophisticated, he's averaging 17.8 points per game, 8.9 rebounds per game, 2.9 assists per game. That's, from the center position these days, that's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah.
And he's young, he's been durable this year for sure. I suspect that he is the top, trade. I think he's the top trade asset. You can make an argument that Aaron Gordon is coming on very strong, and he is.
Right.
You can make the argument that Mario Hezonja has shown a lot of glimmers of all-star potential, and I think he has, especially on the offensive end of the court. But I've stated what my opinion is.
Guys that are under rookie contracts, so the cheaper players, and you still have room to see where they might grow, and the potential for upside with those players too makes them valuable.
Well, true, I think, but I'm really talking. Yes, that's an element to it, but it shouldn't be the only element in this discussion. So, with regard to Vucevic, he has a track record of certainly statistical output. So, and he is at a team-friendly contract.
Well, thanks for taking all these questions, and thanks to those of you who submitted questions. We appreciate it. We had a lot to go through today. And if you've stuck through this entire thing, we really appreciate that.
Why wouldn't people have stuck through this?
I mean, it was fascinating topics for sure, but not everybody has a half hour in the afternoon.
Well, that's a good point.
So maybe they'll watch it back on online when we put it up for the replay.
Yes.
That's a perfect time to give a shout out to Sean Pitts, because he'll be the one that doesn't know. No, he's shaking his head no.
I mean, I'll do it, but you don't need to give me a shout out.
Well,
Sean Pitts, can we pull up your Twitter handle on there, Sean? No? No? Okay, we tried.
Hey, I've enjoyed it. When I say I think you do a great job, I mean it.
Will we see you next week? Road trip?
Yes, I think the Magic.
On the road.
Yes, the Magic are on the road out west. I could attempt to take a red eye just back for this and then get back out to California, but I think
that's not happening.
I think California is so nice.
So it's a special treat to have Josh here today. We're going to try to come back and do it next week. We'll have the Magic insider Brian Schmitz fill in for you like he does, and we'll perhaps take some more Twitter questions. So for Josh Robbins, for Sean Pitts, I'm Charles King. Thanks for watching Orlando Magic Now.